All right, how's it going, everybody? Woo! Woohoo! All right. So this is Meetup 2. We've got a few things going on today, but the first speaker is going to be Michael. He's an entrepreneur, worked in construction for a long time. He's kind of like a community leader. Obviously, we've done a lot of things. We're kind of spearheading a variety of sort of projects going on here. And you have a special speech sort of that you want to sort of talk about today. The general sort of theme that's more or less kind of underlying this conversation today is going to be what are the lessons that you've learned that have made a big difference in your financial freedom and sort of just success, the general word success, right? Yeah, so without further ado, I'll give you the mic and you can do what you're saying.
Do I have to stand up or?
If you'd like, that'd be good for the video.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you all being here. Feel pretty important that everybody came today. But I just wanted to read a couple things because this was kind of important to me. So let's start off with the question that Juan asked me is, what kind of tools or insights have made the biggest difference in your financial freedom and enjoyment of the process? So I looked at that question and I said, that's pretty interesting. And then I read this from another entrepreneur, and I thought it was pretty cool. It said, entrepreneurship and love have so many parallels. On both, you have to fully invest yourself to make it work, and most times will not have all the assurance that it will work. Yet you take the leap of faith. You work on them hard and you enjoy them, although they both have highs and lows. But for the most part, they move you and bring life force to your daily existence. This in turn inspires and helps those around you. I say that indeed love and work can intertwine and create a better existence for all, since they already do this in the extent when apart. Imagine when they go hand in hand. So that was Luis Fernando Mises, our good friend. Well, I listened to Sasha's speech last week, and I thought it was a great speech. And so I kind of want to just start by piggybacking on what he said. And, if I could summarize what he said is, don't be afraid, do what you love, and you will be rewarded. And I think that's very true. But he also mentioned that, you're going to be tested. And I think that is true as well. You're going to have to go through a lot of tests. And let's see here, where was I? So, yeah, I think that's essentially where the action is, is being tested, is putting yourself out there, taking the leap, and, seeing what happens. So, the analogy that Luis suggested, the idea that, that entrepreneurship and love is kind of a parallel. I thought that was an interesting idea, and I think that's kind of where I wanted to go with this little speech today, was, the idea that, kind of similar to when you're out there in the dating market and you're trying to find someone that you like, or someone that's attracted to you as well as you're attracted to them. It's kind of the same thing as being an entrepreneur. You see something that you want, and you decide, hey, that's interesting. Maybe I should go after that, But the thing is how you go about it has a lot to do with whether you're going to succeed or failure. And so, you see I'm talking from my own experience as a man, but, you see an attractive woman and you say, I like her. I want to see if I get to know her. I could just run up there and say, hey, how you doing? But my chances of success are probably pretty low if I just run up there and say, hey, how you doing? Whereas if I actually think about it a little further, if I notice that, oh, she's got a friend and I happen to know that person. Maybe I can ask that person a little bit of information about her. What is she like? Is she single? These type of things. These are all representations of information. So the more information that you have, the more likely you're going to succeed. And so that's where I'm kind of trying to go here, is that there is one particular thing that is very attractive to just about everybody in business and in love, and it's confidence. Confidence is where it's at. And the way that you get confidence is you understand, you understand what you want, first of all, of course. And the more specific that you know what you want, the more that you can relate that to other people so that they can help you get what you want. And so if you know exactly what you want, it's pretty clear that other people can help you get it, because if I tell you, hey, I need, a brake pad for a, what's the bus you get? you're going to find, people are going to continue to point you to the direction to what you need, exactly. And they don't really have a hard time doing that, right? And that's the same thing with, with entrepreneurship, is essentially you've got to know what you want, but then you've also got to know, how that relates to other people. And so I thought, there's a couple different things here, and let me see if I can. But one is called the OODA loop. It's OODA. It's a military thing. It's actually put together by a guy by the name of John Boyd, Colonel John Boyd, who was a fighter pilot in the U.S. Air Force. He became a strategist and worked in the Pentagon. He's basically the guy behind the F-15 and the F-16 and the A-10 fighter planes. The guy did a great deal of stuff and always did it exceptionally well. But as he progressed in his life, he kind of became more of a philosopher on getting things done. And one of the things he came up with is this OODA loop. And so what it is it's observe, orient, decide, act. And in each one of those is feedback. So you observe something. So like for an entrepreneur, you're essentially observing the marketplace. You're looking for something that, is an opportunity. Then you orientate yourself. So like, what can I do to serve that particular thing? Okay, there's an opportunity. Do I have anything that I can utilize to make that opportunity work? Or do I know somebody that can make that opportunity work? So that's essentially orientating. Then deciding is the next step, deciding what we're going to do. Are we going to work together to solve that problem? Or are we going to go for another one? So like in each step, you got feedback. So like if you decide that, no, I don't have anything, no, I can't orientate, then you go back to the next, you begin observing again. All along the way, though, you're learning. And you're becoming more and more adept at figuring out what it is that you really want and what it is that you can deliver. I had written down a couple things that kind of go along with this before I... So, understanding what you want, and obviously this more specific, knowing what a good opportunity is. There's something, there's a saying that I used to always say that luck equals two things: opportunity and preparation. If you've prepared yourself, more than likely you'll see an opportunity, and it'll be luck, or at least other people will say, "Man, you're so lucky. You seem to always be in the right place at the right time." But the reality is that a person that's prepared for the opportunity is going to be lucky. And so knowing a good opportunity, and then taking action. This is another one that. Sorry, I got this on this little bitty screen here. It's difficult to read. But taking action is also another essential thing, because if you're afraid to ever take action, if you want to keep preparing, or kind of getting stuck in the observation or the orientation stage, there's got to be a point that you take action. And for better or for worse, it's something that's got to be done. And so in the case like we were talking about earlier with the dating type scene, sometimes you just got to get out there and ask some people, get on a date and start finding out what it is that you really like and want. Maybe you think that I'm going to go after the most attractive woman, and every single time you're out there and every single time you're getting turned down, or you find out that they don't have a very good personality or something. You find out that maybe I need someone that's got a better personality. Maybe I'm looking for someone that's got a better personality than just attraction. And so these are things that you learn through taking action. And then the one thing that me and Scott were just discussing earlier, getting and giving honest feedback. This is another thing that I think everybody really needs to grab onto, is that every time that you talk to somebody, or that you talk to someone about an idea or something like that, there's another opportunity in there, and that is getting feedback. We have a speech here today, and later on in the afternoon I might walk up to you and say, well, what did you think about my speech? I'm going to get some feedback about what I did. Man, you should have been a little more prepared. You shouldn't have had your phone up here like this all the time. Your glasses up and down was a distraction. All these kind of things are feedback that I can learn from, that I can get better at if I do it on a regular basis. If this is something I really want to do, it's going to get better. But all this has got to do with confidence. And I think that is really where I made my success, is because I was always confident in myself. I always liked the person that I was, and I always kind of felt like I just had an eye for picking out things that were good. And so even when I was in the military, when I was just a soldier, I took those opportunities to do things that made me a success. When I was in the military, I was pretty much a poor little, young private. I think my paycheck at the end of the month was like $300. My car payment was $250. And I still had to pay for insurance, And so I didn't have any money, so I had to come up with a way to get some money. Well, one of the things I did is guys would, they would assign guard duty, and people would, whatever, let's say it's on a Friday night and stuff, and I don't want to pull guard duty. I want to go out on the town. So someone would pay for someone else to take their guard duty. So that's essentially where I started. I started picking up guard duty. Well, there's actually another thing to it, is they would have like a 15-man guard mount, and they would only need 12 guards. And so they would actually have one of the guard mount would be what they call the man, and then they would have two alternates. And so what they would do when they did the guard mount, they would do like an inspection, and they would go and they'd look through your uniform, see if everything was where it was supposed to be, if everything was nice and looked good. If that was the case, then more than likely you would be the man. What the man got is he got the day off. He didn't have to do it. So essentially, if someone paid me to pull guard duty, and then I got the man, well, I just made my money. I didn't do anything, really, other than dress up and look good. And so what that also allowed me the opportunity to do was, while I'm standing there in guard mount, I would say, hey, if I get picked the man, I'll take somebody else's guard, So then these other 14 guys would say, hey, well, I'd like to take the day off. I got $30 in my pocket, Hey, I'll give you $30. Well, then somebody else is like, well, shit, I'll give you $40, So next thing you know, I would have, say another $40 if I wanted to pull guard duty. But I might be able to sell it to somebody else for 20. But being that I was there and I was basically bidding up the price, I might be able to, to make some money just by taking that opportunity. Well, needless to say, this snowballed into basically a kind of black market services thing, where I'm basically the person that everybody in the battalion is looking to get things done, because first of all, it's guard mount. I can get guard mount taken care of. But it could be a lot of other things, because you're talking to a lot of people, you're always finding that there's skills and abilities that people have, and that there's things that people want. And so just being in the place where other people are talking to you on a regular basis about solving their problems is another opportunity, And so this is the thing. In the circumstance that I was in the military, basically under, almost like in a prison, I'm still making a fortune. In fact, I ended up making more money doing those kind of things than my paycheck. And I'm not talking about just my paycheck for $300, but as I went through the military, I was probably making $1,000 a month, by the end of it. But I was still making more doing the other stuff than I was doing the military. And so, it became very clear to me that, I got a pretty good head about, figuring out, opportunities. And so that just continued, and that's essentially how I've gone through my life, is always looking for those opportunities. And believe me, there's tons of opportunities. I've been in very difficult occupations. I've been in a company of 500 people that all had the same job, essentially the same job as me, and no one else saw it. No one else saw the opportunities. I was the one that saw the opportunities. I had a circumstance where I had a project that was, essentially had a 24-month timeline for a project. I ended up doing it in 11 months. There's huge amounts of potential if we're looking for opportunities. And I think that's the same with our community here. We've got a ton of opportunities and a ton of potential, because we all have a great deal of skills and abilities. And if we put these things in place and really, make them work with the larger community, all the opportunities that they present, plus the fact that we're connected online, we've got a ton of opportunities. And so it's just a matter of, identifying our skills and our abilities and having the confidence that what we will deliver is valuable to other people. I can think of all kinds of things. I think Thora, Thora's got a wealth of knowledge about health and food. And so, there's a ton of people that need that kind of help. So, just putting her in the same place as those people that need that help and giving them an opportunity to, make that transaction, more than likely both are going to come away thinking, hey, I got some value out of this, And, Ryan over there, Ryan with his internet stuff and a ton of other skills. It's just a matter of putting him in the right position to utilize his skills that gives all kinds of opportunities. We've started like the internet business for him. We could really make that rock and roll if we wanted to. If we really wanted to put some time and energy into that, we could really get it rocking and rolling. And there's a bunch of others. There's a lot of people I know that have skills and abilities, in the outside world that that I could bring here if they saw the opportunity. They've got the skills and the preparation. They just need the opportunity. We can do it that way too. So going back to the beginning, in conclusion, so I don't go too long. Anybody keeping time on this? All right, well, I wanted it to be 20 minutes. So actually, if you want to go a little longer, I've got another one. I wanted to kind of prep you guys with some things that you could utilize to build your confidence. Another one, is something called the rational model of decision making. And essentially, most people say there's two ways of making a decision. One is a rational decision, and the other is intuitive. I guess there could be a third, maybe even a fourth, I don't know. But this is the rational model. And so it says, 1, define the problem. 2, identify the decision criteria. 3, allocate weights to the criteria. 4, develop the alternatives. 5, evaluate the alternatives. And 6, select the best alternative. So here's just one other way that you can, basically take any situation, put it into a system, and start churning through it, And when you do that, you start to look at, in any particular problem, if you start to look at the problem and you start to break it down into its little pieces, before long you start to figure out what exactly it is that, is the essence of the problem. And before long, by the time you get to the final step, you're pretty dang confident that what you've come up with is a pretty good solution, So, back to the conclusion. So in conclusion, what makes the biggest difference in your success? Your confidence in your ability to deliver value. So it's all about confidence, and it's all about your understanding that you have value, And if anything, if I could work with each one of you and basically come up and say, man, listen, this is what you got. We've hashed it back and forth. You've got it. You are the one that can make the difference. And I'm going to put you in front of the people that you can make the difference for. Would you be confident about delivering if that's something that we know that you're good at? Yeah. And now the customers are right in front of you and all you got to do is deliver? Yeah. Heck yeah. And that's what we can do for each other, So I'm kind of working on a couple of projects along these lines. I'm the Mr. Octalog guy, so this is also a part of this with the idea of the Octalog, working with 7 other people to accomplish something, is about delivering confidence. When you know you've got the team that can get things done, and you're a big part of that team, and they're relying on you, and you're relying on them. And you have confidence that both can get it done. That's a big thing. And so with that, I guess I will go to the Q&A.